When the Lights Go On Again by Annie Groves. Read by Vicky Mills. Chapter 1. Late August 1943. Jean Campion was standing in her kitchen waiting for the kettle to boil. Today was her birthday. Her soft brown wavy hair had been freshly cut and set the previous day, especially for the occasion. The last drops of the precious Chanel scent that her son, Luke, had brought her back from Paris the first Christmas of the war, dabbed behind her ears. Jean smoothed down the cotton fabric of her blue floral print summer dress, loose on her now after nearly 4 years of wartime rationing. She had bought the dress from Lewis's in Liverpool, when her eldest daughter, Grace, had been working there, before the store had been bombed in the dreadful Blitz of May 1940. The kettle was coming up to the boil. From the front room, with the door open into the hallway, Jean could hear the voices of her family, come to celebrate with her the birthday she shared with her twin sister, Vi. The voices of her daughters, Grace and Sasha, her niece, Bella, her sisters, Vi and Francine. Female voices. Female voices because they were at war, and so many men were fighting for their country and their lives. A heartfelt sigh escaped Jean's lips. She was lucky, she reminded herself. Many women she knew had lost their sons and husbands. Luke might have been injured fighting in the desert, but at least he had recovered now. Even if he had made the recovery far from home, and according to his most recent letter, which had miraculously arrived today, was about to rejoin his army unit. She was lucky, too, in having the rest of her family close at hand. Grace, who was a nurse, might have moved to Whitchurch because her RAF husband, who was part of the very important and secret Y section, had been posted there. But she too had her husband living at home with her. Seb and Grace had come up from Whitchurch today on the train, and right now Seb and Jean's husband, Sam, were down at Sam's allotment, no doubt talking about the progress of the war and the recent invasion of Sicily by the Allied forces, as well as Seb's desire to turn part of the rambling garden attached to the cottage they were renting into a vegetable plot. Thinking of that invasion made Jean's heart thud with anxiety. For Luke, who was with the 8th Army and bound to be involved at some stage in the Allies' push into the Italian mainland to force back the Germans and Italians. And Luke wasn't the only one of her children she had to worry about, Jean admitted, lifting her hand to smooth back a wayward strand of hair. There was Lou, who of all things was now learning to fly aeroplanes, if you please, having been transferred by the WAAF into something called the Air Transport Auxiliary Service. And Lou's twin, Sasha, despite having a nice steady job at the local telephone exchange and an equally nice steady fiancé working in bomb disposal, never seemed to be happy. As she poured the boiling water onto the precious tea leaves, Jean thought how typically generous it was of her younger sister Francine, a singer with ENSA and recently married to a major in the army, to have brought her own rations with her for the birthday get-together. On cue, the kitchen door opened wider to admit Francine, a rueful look of mischief sparkling in her eyes. "I thought I'd escaped from V by coming to see if you needed a hand." Francine was by far the prettiest one of the 3 sisters, with her strawberry blonde curls and her heart-shaped face. Grace had the same pretty features. As always, Francine was beautifully dressed in a floral silk frock. She'd had the foresight to have some new clothes made whilst she'd been posted to Egypt with ENSA. You simply couldn't get clothes of the quality and style Fran had brought back with her in England now, not with rationing and the rules the government had laid down for austerity clothing. Not that Jean minded having to stick by those rules, not when she knew the danger the country's...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?